past several decades, I've watched America experience events that I never imagined I'd see in my lifetime. School shootings that have left entire communities grieving, terrorist attacks that changed our country forever, and riots that turned neighborhoods into war zones. Drug epidemics that have devastated families, and human trafficking and fentanyl overdoses. Mass shootings in churches, grocery stores, shopping malls, concerts, and places where people should have felt completely safe. We've witnessed rising violent crime in many communities and horrific acts of child abuse and political violence, growing distrust of our institutions and widespread loneliness, mental health struggles, and levels of division that often feels deeper than anything many of us have experienced. Every time another tragedy unfolds, I find myself asking the same question: what is happening to us? As someone whose faith is deeply rooted in God, I cannot ignore what I believe are timeless spiritual lessons about the human condition. I don't pretend to know every answer, and I certainly don't claim that every tragedy is a direct judgment from God. Scripture teaches that the suffering, evil, and brokenness have existed throughout human history because we live in a fallen world. But it also teaches that every generation must choose what values it will embrace and what legacy it'll leave behind. Tonight, I want to share my heart, not as someone claiming to have all the answers, but as someone who loves this country, who believes in God, and who is genuinely concerned about where the culture is headed. When I was growing up, America certainly had problems. Crime existed, violence existed, corruption existed. Human beings have always struggled with greed, hatred, pride, and selfishness. But today it often feels as though we are witnessing a different kind of crisis, not simply a political crisis or an economic crisis, but a crisis of the soul. Turn on the television or open up your phone, and almost every day there seems to be another heartbreaking story. A school placed on lockdown, families mourning after another mass shooting, children caught in the middle of abuse or neglect, communities overwhelmed by fentanyl and addiction, first responders risking their lives to save people they have never met, a police officer ambushed, innocent civilians killed in random acts of violence, human trafficking networks exploiting the vulnerable, elderly people becoming victims of scams, and rising concerns about the youth violence, depression, and suicide. After enough of these stories, it's natural to ask whether something deeper is happening beneath the surface. I don't believe every problem can be explained by politics alone, nor do I believe one political party is solely responsible for the challenges we face. Governments can pass laws and the courts can interpret those laws. Police officers can enforce them, but no government can legislate their neighborhood. No election can instantly restore honesty, humility, forgiveness, or personal responsibility. This is why my faith continues to shape how I understand the world. It reminds me that before there is a crisis in government, there's often a crisis in the human heart. Before societies become divided, individuals begin drifting away from the principles that encourage truth, self control, mercy, justice, and love for one another. One of the greatest challenges I believe America faces today is not simply deciding what to believe, it is determining what is actually true. We live in an age where information travels around the world in seconds, and every day we're bombarded with headlines or breaking news alerts or viral videos or podcasts or live streams, social media posts, and opinions from every direction. Never before in human history has so much information been available to so many people. Yet, despite this unprecedented access to knowledge, many Americans feel more confused and more divided and less certain about what they can trust. Part of the problem is that every source of information has its limitations. News organizations can make mistakes, and independent creators can make mistakes. Our public officials can make mistakes, along with social media algorithms that often amplify content that generates strong emotional reactions, regardless of whether it's accurate or incomplete. The rumors can spread faster than our verified facts, and emotionally charged claims often travel farther than careful analysis. In this environment, it's easy for people to retreat into information sources that reinforce their already believe their already belief while dismissing everyone else's beliefs. As someone who believes deeply in the truth, I find that troubling. The search for truth requires humility, and it requires the willingness to ask difficult questions, examine evidence honestly, and admit when we're wrong, and resist the temptations to accept something simply because it aligns with our own opinions or political preferences. Truth should never be feared. If something is true, it can withstand honest examination. But at the same time, I've noticed that our disagreements have become more personal than they once were. Too often, we don't simply disagree with someone, we question their motives and assume the worst about their character, or treat them as enemies rather than fellow human beings. The political labels, ideological identities, and cultural divisions can become walls that separate our neighbors, friends, and even families. Social media has made it easier than ever to speak to one another, yet in many ways, we've forgotten how to truly listen. Healthy disagreement has always been part of a free society. In fact, respectful debate is one of democracy's greatest strengths. But when disagreement turns into contempt, then conversation turns into hostility. And when winning becomes more important than understanding something valuable is lost. A nation cannot remain strong if its people no longer see one another as worthy of dignity and respect. Now, with my faith, continually it reminds me that every person is created in the image of God. Now, that doesn't mean we all agree on every issue, nor does it mean we abandon deeply held convictions. It does mean we should pursue truth with honesty and speak with humility and treat others with the same dignity we hope to receive ourselves. We should reject the deliberate deception wherever we find it, regardless of who benefits politically. And integrity is not a partisan value, it is a moral one. I don't believe America needs less conviction. We need better conversations, and we need people who are willing to slow down before sharing the information, verify the facts before drawing conclusions, and approach difficult discussions with both conviction and humility. We need citizens who care about discovering what is true more than simply proving themselves right. If we lose our commitment to truth, we risk losing the truth that holds communities together. But if we recommit ourselves to honesty and humility and respectful dialogue, even in the midst of profound disagreement, then there is still hope that our divisions can begin to heal. Now, as I bring these thoughts to a close, I want to leave you with one final reflection. My purpose isn't to convince you that the world is beyond saving, nor is it to suggest that America is without hope. Throughout history, nations have endured war, economic hardship, political divisions, and social unrest. Time and again, people have faced moments when the future seemed uncertain, yet our history also reminds us that renewal is possible when individuals choose integrity over corruption, truth over deception, compassion over hatred, and hope over despair. I believe the greatest challenges facing our country were not only economic or political, they were moral and spiritual. Every law we pass and every election we vote in and every institution we build ultimately depends on the character of the people who sustain them. If we accept Honesty from our leaders, we must practice honesty ourselves. If we long for unity, we must be willing to extend grace to those whom we disagree. And if we want future generations to inherit a stronger nation, then we must demonstrate that the values we hope and carry, they will carry forward. My faith reminds me that darkness never has the final word. Light shines brightest when the world around it grows dim. Hope matters most when the circumstances seem difficult, and love matters most when hatred is easy. Truth matters most when deception is common, and the courage matters most when fear threatens to take hold. So, my prayer for America is simply that I pray that we seek the wisdom instead of outrage, truth instead of convenience, and humility instead of pride, justice instead of vengeance, and faith instead of fear. I pray for our leaders, our first responders, and our military, our teachers, our churches, our families, and our communities. And I pray for those who are hurting and those who have lost loved ones, those struggle with addiction, and those battling loneliness and searching for hope. No matter where you stand politically, and no matter your background, or even whether you share my faith, I believe we can all agree that our nation is strongest when we value honesty, personal responsibility, compassion, respect for one another, and a commitment to seeking what is true. Those principles have the power to strengthen our families and rebuild communities and inspire future generations. The future of America has not been written yet. Every generation leaves its mark on the history, and now it's our turn. The question is not simply what kind of country will we inherit, but what kind of country we will leave behind. That decision begins with each of us, one choice, one conversation, and one act of kindness, and one commitment to truth at a time. I want to thank you for watching the Unfiltered Political Lens. We truly appreciate you being here and spending your time with us. If you enjoyed this monologue, please consider liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing it with others who enjoy thoughtful discussions about faith, history, society, and current events. Your support helps us continue creating in-depth content that encourages meaningful conversations, and we appreciate each and every one of you, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. And as always, we'll see you in the next one. Peace.